Good morning, everyone. This morning, Florida is the national epicenter for the coronavirus pandemic. In addition, it's hurricane season and we're staring down the barrel of a storm predicted to hit our state this weekend. Lastly, we're fighting to keep over 661,000 Florida residents who are at risk for being evicted in their homes and off the streets. I'm Zalala Medefris. I am the VP of Policy and Advocacy at Catalyst Miami, and we're a proud member of the Florida Housing Justice Alliance. From the start of this pandemic, our alliance has demanded bold action from Governor DeSantis to ensure that no one loses their home as a result of COVID-19. This includes a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures for residential and commercial properties until the end of the year, providing direct rent and mortgage relief for those in need, negotiating with banks on behalf of mortgage holders to ensure forbearance, housing the homeless in hotels, and informing the public of what their rights and protections are as tenants and homeowners. The most recent extension is another victory, but it is a Band-Aid. We demand more. Housing is essential. It is healthcare. It is a human right. No one should lose their home due to COVID-19. No one needs to unnecessarily increase their exposure to coronavirus or have their belongings thrown out onto the street during an impending storm. And so that is why we are here. First, we have a lineup of several speakers, but I'd like to introduce our interpretation team to kick it off and share about that, their service.
Buenos días a todos, mi nombre es Flavia, estoy trabajando con mi colega Rose. Esta conferencia de prensa se llevará a cabo en inglés y va a haber interpretación en vivo y en directo. Si usted desea escuchar la interpretación al español, por favor llame al 781-448-4126. Good morning, everyone. My name is Flavia. I'm working alongside my colleague Rose. This press conference will take place in English. However, we believe in language justice, and that means having access to this information regardless of the language you choose to speak. If you would like to listen to this information in Spanish, you can dial to the live interpretation. You have to dial 781-448-4126 and then add the PIN code 0163. If you would like to listen to this press conference in Haitian Creole, you have to dial 781-448-4094 and then enter the PIN code 54747. Okay, so
pardon, désolé. Et donc, désolé tout le monde, sorry everyone. Donc, non, moi c'est Rose, moi je travaille avec collègue moi Flavia qui pourra faire interprétation. Nous représentons Mob Language Services et donc nous croyons justice pour langue et donc c'est ça qui fait que nous baillons interprétation pour monde qui parler dans la langue maman papa yo que yo capable de participer. Et donc si toutefois nous mettons en créole, tant pis, les numéros ça, les 781 448 4094 et puis nous mettez PIN 54747. Merci Napton.
Wonderful. So I'll introduce our first speaker, who is Brandon Hudspeth. He's a member of Smash the Slumlords in Miami. And I'll have you kick it off and tell your story.
I just wanted to thank everyone who came here today, but Florida families deserve to live with dignity even during a pandemic, and I just wanted to share the struggles many of us are going through. So back payment of rent is casting a shadow over all of my finances, honestly, and it's preventing me from being prepared for hurricane season and for living a life with dignity out here in South Florida. In my case, I was still evicted by force on July 10th, despite the moratorium. My landlord cut my power supply, had stolen my package, damaged my unit, threatened me with violence, and eventually had someone physically assault me on the property. And as advised by police, I had to leave the premises for my safety. For my safety, I had to flee to a household infested with COVID-positive Floridians. I made sure to notify my landlord that I was not vacating my unit, that I was still a tenant, but when I returned, all of my stuff was soaked and on the curb, water-stained, years of memories. Given the pandemic, the state's attorney wasn't able to press charges, even though there's direct video of the incident. I was warned that even if I sued for my packages, including a laptop that was to help me get a job, and to force an injunction so I could continue living there, that I might be countersued for back payment of rent. So all of this stress is happening at the same time families are supposed to be preparing for a hurricane in the midst of a financially draining pandemic. So it's a question of which should we prioritize, saving up for a potential rent back payment or be properly prepared for the hurricane. Especially during this hurricane season, this horror story needs to be avoided at all costs. For our families in South Florida, especially, we need to not just an eviction moratorium, but a freeze on rent too. And if we don't take action beyond this moratorium extension, there will be hundreds of thousands of Floridian renters who listened to the experts, who stayed at home, who are faced with the demand for back rent. The pain is just being shoved under the rug for now, but long-term solutions await. I hope that the governor and that the county mayor, Jimenez, take action and protect Florida renters. We all deserve to live in dignity here, and we're not addressing the true issue that's ongoing and under all of our thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon, so much for sharing your story, and I'm so sorry to hear that you had to go through that. Our next speaker is Representative Anna Eskamani, representing District 47 of Orange County, Florida.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with everyone today, and my heart also goes out to Brandon and individuals and families like Brandon who have done everything they can to navigate this pandemic and yet have been rejected. Their landlord, have been rejected by programs meant to serve them, and creating not only economic havoc, but adding to the health crisis. My name is Anna V Eskamani. I am proud to be standing with the Miami workers, advocates across the state in calling for housing justice. No one should face eviction due to failure to pay during the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that COVID-19 cases are rising. Hurricane season is here. While unemployment benefits, utility bills, everything's coming at once for our working families, while their benefits continue to be delayed. And our office has been working with, at this point, over 20,000 Floridians to try to get their unemployment benefits to them. And because of all of these broken systems, we have many families that are behind on mortgage payments and especially facing unpaid rent. Now, we know this past week, Governor Ron DeSantis issued the new moratorium by the demands of everyday people, including folks who are on this press conference right now, asking the governor to make these relief decisions and to extend the moratorium. However, the moratorium did include significant language changes from its previous versions. And not only is this new moratorium not enough, but it actually changes the previous policy to potentially reopen the courts to eviction and foreclosure proceedings. So it creates really murky waters. It's super sneaky and requires the working Floridians to fend for themselves in the court process, one that we know is a pay-to-play system that's one-sided against tenants by design. And actually, during this past legislative session, I filed a bill to eliminate this pay-for-play dynamic and to give tenants an actual opportunity to mediate an eviction in court, because right now, unless you can pay up, you cannot mediate your eviction in Florida. Now, we know that these moratoriums, as you just heard from Brandon, have not even worked to stop eviction filings. 361 evictions have been filed in Orange County alone as of yesterday. And corporate landlords in particular are not showing any mercy for tenants. One management company actually in Miami, I believe it's pronounced Tzadik Management. It's a real estate and property management company in South Florida that received $2 to $5 million in PPP loans and recently announced a company expansion. They have filed 32 out of 361 of the evictions here in Orange County. And research by the Center for Public Integrity found that by July 22nd, they had issued more evictions than any other entity in Florida. This is a company that has received PPP loans and continues to file eviction notices. And also reminds me of even some of our affordable housing management in this state are increasing rent as we speak. So though they build affordable housing, they have permission from HUD based on a formula from data in 2019 that allows them to increase rent based on that annual median area income. And because they have that permission, even some of our affordable housing units have made the decision to increase rent. The governor continues to do the least for working people and the most for corporations. He vetoed $225 million from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars, while he gave $543 million in a tax refund to corporations. And he's put forth moratoriums with no plan to help pay for months of overdue rent and mortgage payments. As COVID-19 cases continue to rise, Governor DeSantis must take bold and necessary action, extending the moratorium on eviction and foreclosures until the end of this year, protect our small business, negotiate with banks on behalf of mortgage holders, house the homeless in hotels, and inform the public of what their rights and protections are as tenants and homeowners. According to the Institute, we have over 100,000 Florida renters who are at risk right now of eviction. By the end of September, that number could potentially double to 1.5 million. And according to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, Florida would need anywhere from 4.5 billion to 6.25 billion in direct assistance dollars to stabilize Florida's housing crisis. Floridians need our governor to actually govern. We have the solutions. We just need the leadership. And we need our local elected officials in particular to step up. Sheriffs, courts, county and city officials must commit to keeping people housed. Not only is this an economic crisis, not only do we know that eviction will scar people's lives forever, but when it comes to stopping the spread of COVID-19, we know that keeping people housed is crucial. And so this is not only an economic this is a public health crisis, and we need leadership from our governor and all elected officials to help keep people housed. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Representative Eskamani. Really, I think I speak on behalf of all of us when we want to thank you for your leadership on this issue and so many others. I'd now like to introduce Ms. Annette Carr to share their story.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Antoinette Carr. I am a member of Miami Workers Center. I moved into Brownville and had 3 units there. I had many problems because of the slumlords who only cared about money and not about the people living in their units. I was blessed to get a Section 8. Coronavirus has affected my income and I am struggling to make payments. If I do not pay back rent, I will go homeless and possibly get sick. Governor DeSantis, moratorium are not enough. We need full rent and mortgage forgiveness. Now during a tropical storm and more than ever, and if the governor fails to act, the Mayor Jimenez, you must leave. How? I'm supposed to go inside the store and prepare for a storm. When I'm entering the stores, it's nothing in the stores. So I'm trying to survive here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Antoinette. I'd like to pass it on to our final speaker, Imani Castillo, who's representing the Community Justice Project.
Hi, I'm Imani Castillo. I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm a Black transgender woman and representing Community Justice Project that supports grassroots organizing for power, racial justice, and human rights. Um, my story is one of having to find ways to survive financially through sex work because that is the only um, means of survival for Black trans women in Miami. And currently, I'm working with Community Justice Project to find resources for housing, emergency housing for Black transgender women. There are very, very limited resources. And because of that, it puts us at grave danger. And there is a national epidemic occurring in the transgender community with the mass killings of Black transgender women. And I am currently not in my home. So I was forced out of my home because of safety reasons due to survival sex work. Sexually and physically abused, I fled Miami in hopes to find safety. These are normal occurrences within the transgender community that we normally have to rely on each other in our own community to create resources for one another to survive. So along with the ending of the moratorium and also COVID-19 and the hurricane coming, it poses a great grave like just circumstances where there's even more limited like resources for us to really help one another and have less capacity to survive. So indulging in illegal activities to find a means to survive is a lot of our choices, and that's inhumane at this point. And that's really it for me.
Thank you, Imani, for sharing your story. Lastly, we have lawyer Alana Greer of Community Justice Project.
Thank you, Zalalem. And thank you to everyone who spoke today that's leading this fight to fight back and make sure that housing as a human right is respected here in the state of Florida, especially in times when we're sitting together in this immense crisis that has doubled down on the housing crisis we were already living. The governor's moratorium extension is simply not enough. The moratorium, as we've seen since the beginning of this crisis, has not been fully implemented across the state of Florida. People have been being evicted despite its supposed protections. And this moratorium walks back some of those protections in ways that are deeply harmful to tenants and will continue to make those most vulnerable to these oppressive systems, and particularly those who are unable to secure an attorney or find the resources to navigate our deeply complex legal system to avail themselves of the protections that they should have under this moratorium and during any pandemic, any sort of state of emergency. Right now, we've seen thousands of evictions already filed despite federal and state moratoriums since the month of April. And one study predicts that over 800,000 evictions are likely to occur in the state of Florida in the next 4 months. We know that Black and Latino renters are almost 50%, in some surveys above 50% of those communities are unable to or worried that they are not going to be able to pay their rent next month.
We need to act, and we need to act quickly, and we need to act boldly to protect our communities. The reality is that Florida's laws have long pushed tenants out of their communities and denied them basic access to the courts and basic opportunities to even see a judge unless they're able to fully pay what the judge allows, what the landlord alleges they owe. That's not acceptable. We need systemic change to our tenants' rights laws. We need bold protection, and we need a massive infusion of rental assistance if we hope to stabilize our communities. Rental assistance is dripping through our state and local governments at the moment, but it's simply not enough. Estimates say that we're going to need over $6 billion to get through this crisis just here in the state of Florida. One of the biggest concerns we're seeing in the rental assistance that has been put forward is that there's very few, if any, requirements that an eviction is suspended or agreed not to be filed once rent assistance comes through. So what we're seeing is public dollars flow into the pockets often of corporate landlords with no commitment to actually keep people housed as a result. We have limited dollars in those coffers, and we need to make sure they're effective at protecting our communities and at making longer lasting change beyond this moment as well. Thank you, Zalal.
Thank you. So I want to extend a huge thank you to our speakers for sharing their stories, and also to our viewers for their advocacy and willingness to learn more about this critical issue. To echo the words of Rep. Eskamani, while we continue to push Governor Santos and we commit to doing so, we also need our local electeds across the state to step up, which includes sheriffs, courts, county and city officials. We all together must commit to keeping people housed during this, forever, but also during this critical crisis for our communities. Thank you all for your time. So now we'll open it up to question and answer. Any questions? All right, with that, this will be the end of our press conference. Thank you so much for your time.